I am absolutely addicted to this thing. Yo, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's A-Ton here, and I kind of just felt like making a video talking about, the Game Boy. It's a library I've been absolutely addicted to for the past, month or so. It's a really good library, and I figured, I'd talk about it and talk about why I'm having so much fun with it, and yeah, But before I get into that, it has been a while since I've uploaded. It's been about 2 months, and I would just like to say that I apologize for the lack of content, for the people that cared. I just needed a break, That it's just plain and simple. There's no other reason. I just needed a break. Let's talk about the Game Boy Advance, or Game Boy, but I don't have an original Game Boy, but I'm going to be talking about the Game Boy library because I've been playing it on my Game Boy Advance. It's no surprise that the Game Boy was absolutely massive when it came out back in the 90s. 90s? It was huge. That giant freaking brick was... And everyone owned 5 of them. You go to the store to get some milk and you come back with another Game Boy. It's like everyone owned one. In case you're wondering why a lot of these games are in plastic cases, because Game Boy games came out in cardboard back then. It's because I actually bought all these custom cases from a store online. They're called customgamecases.com. And they're super great because Game Boy games are super hard to display on a shelf. If you collect Game Boy games, you know how much of a pain it could be. And, they make DS-like cases they make other consoles too. They make games for other platforms too. They're kind of like DS cases in their shape and size and color. And they're absolutely amazing. They fit the manuals and all that. I would recommend giving them a look-see if you're into that kind of stuff. The obvious thing that makes the Game Boy, well, it's the first thing I think of when I think of Game Boy. It's Pokemon. Pokemon blew the fuck up. It was released very, very, very late into the Game Boy's life. And I am a big Pokemon fan myself. I love Pokemon. I grew up with it. I love it so much, and I have so much nostalgia for the original generation on Game Boy. Now, I personally don't have red and blue. I have leaf green over here, and then I have my favorite Pokemon generation. I have Pokemon Sapphire. I mean, there is tons of other great games on the original Game Boy. I got Super Mario Land, Donkey Kong. I don't really have that many other Game Boy games, but you get the point. In my opinion, the best way to play the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color library is to get yourself a damn Game Boy Advance. Not only does it, play the Game Boy Advance library, but it plays Game Boy and Game Boy Color games absolutely flawlessly. It's completely backwards compatible. Game Boy Advance is Bugs Life compatible. This thing is just an outstanding feeling. It feels super nice. It holds the charge really well. And it's just amazing. Now, the reason I say you should probably be playing the original Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games on an Advance, is 2 reasons. One, if you try to play the original Game Boy games on a base Game Boy model, it does not look good. As much as I love the Game Boy, that original brick was just not the best. First of all, everything was ass green. And then not having a backlit screen really, really hurt it, and you couldn't play. You had to have really good lighting around you to play any games on it. And if you're gonna look into getting a Game Boy Advance, I would recommend the SP. That is the one I have. It's the one that has a clamshell design. And another thing you're gonna want to look at is you're gonna want to look for the model number. When you're in the market for a Game Boy Advance SP, you're gonna notice a lot of people specify the model number. You're gonna see them saying either it's a model number 001 or model number 101. Basically, the only difference of that is the screen quality. 101 is leagues better than the 001. The 001 is still playable. It still looks good. But if you want a really good screen, you're going to want the 101. I mean, I don't really know what else to talk about. I just want to talk about the Game Boy. I have more stuff coming in the future. I just want to get something out because my YouTube channel has been absolutely dead. It's been a fucking ghost town. Bayonetta 2 will be my next video. I'm going to be doing a playthrough similar to what I did on the Halo video. I'm just going to sit down and play through the entirety of Bayonetta 2 in preparation for Bayonetta 3. And I'll probably in the video be talking about Bayonetta 1 because I've already played through that game. Okay, that's it. Bye. Subscribe, I guess. Yeah.